time to hit the ground. Ready to turn left. Turn left. Keep right, and then turn right. Turn right.
Warning everyone at the water bank. Contact the rescue car for the IS and body with the middle part of the product on the car. Right home. So, as we celebrate the soldiers and the military support, for land, start code, page, and it's been here for a while, lots of them. So, that's celebrate on them. That's good. Put it on.
Keep right, and then exit right. Exit right. Turn left. Get ready to turn right. Turn right. It's all over now. Okay, here we go.
I almost forgot. We're gonna
Turn
start with Boston, California for four, and not in Colorado for others. So going on and something that. So thank you guys.
Get ready turn right. and then turn right. Turn right. Keep left. Keep left. Turn right. Go straight on. Keep right, and then turn right. Turn right. Get ready to turn left. Turn left. You have arrived at your destination. Your route guidance is now finished. Let's do this. Okay, let's find a new route. When possible, make a U-turn. Ready to turn right. Turn right. Get ready to turn left. Turn left.
This programming is sponsored by Central Market, featuring summer grilling with black Angus beef, kebabs, and marinated salmon fillets. Recipes and more at centralmarket.com.
Wait, right. But I was like, I'm gonna go do this comedy thing. So I wasn't in acting. I was in a program for public school kids, and I'm like, you know, whatever the financial aid. I'm just like, I'm here. I got here. I'm here. And I'm going every night doing sketch, stand up, and improv every night.
How did you go straight on to that?
My brother and I made sketch videos for our entire childhood. Hours and hours and hours of sketch videos.
And then turn left.
Elliot, my brother, who's also a comedian, went to NYU and was scoping out the scene.
So he's
like, there's this thing called UCB. It's called alt. It's called alt comedy. And you know, there's SNL, of course, and there's stand-up clubs, of course. But this place is doing some weird stuff. And I'm in 8th grade, watching Comedy Central, watching Upright Citizens Brigade and Comedy Central. I'm like, Elliot's in the city, and he says they're performing at this place, Mr. Blue, and Janine Garofalo's doing stand-up there. Janine was like, you know, I always loved Janine. And I remember her from, you know, MTV and Ben Stiller and Jon Stewart, but she was up in that alt scene too, because she's like a funny little weirdo. And so Elliot's scoping it out, and he's like, when you come here, we'll take classes. And that was the thing, waitressing and babysitting to make the money to do the classes. And but Abby had like known, you know, had like studied art and knew about different kinds of art and had thought of herself as an artist in a way that, like, when we came together to make Broad City, the web series, I was like, there was a claiming that like just had such an impression on me. And you know, the character, she always loved to play insecure characters, and of course, you know, we were in a vulnerable and intense position together, so we certainly learned each other's insecurities, but the power in her rootedness of her role as an artist
and then
still takes me.
physical humor. There's hijinks, but then like towards the end, and this also, granted, might have to do with my mood lately, but like towards the end, I was like crying, like at the like the very end
Intended,
of it.
as intended.
And is it hard or is it natural for you to sort of go from kind of high comedy to a kind of heartfelt mode, or is this something that like you draw from your own life with, like your own tendencies towards combining these two modes, or
It's natural. For me.
yeah,
I think people are going to be surprised to find themselves crying. I've heard a lot of that.
yeah,
Julie Louis-Dreyfus, God bless her, did a Q&A with me and Pamela and Michelle yesterday, and she was like, I was crying in your scene. I was crying in that particular scene. I was like, yeah, duh, girl. You know what I mean? But like, also, she's surprised. I'm seeing that people are surprised. It is so funny that you don't you don't think you're gonna cry like this, but to me, that's what life is. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
as I get older, I'm more able to recognize and hold this duality, and I'm
Yeah.
loving it. It's just magical, and it's natural for me, not without lots of prep, to remove myself as the writer and to start seeing it as a work.
right.
I'm inhabiting
Because
as an actor.
that's tricky. How did that work? Like, what kind of thing did you, what kind of trick of the mind did you have to?
Just talking about it, and just the almost a therapy process. Talking about it and thinking about this person as not me. I'm not a single mom. I don't have the parent situation that my character does. Like I'm not
Right.
her. So even a lot of what Concern Broad City was not me.
Sure. Yeah.
But this is what life is to me, and especially since the absurd, paradoxical experience of becoming a parent, I see that like this is not a bold swing. This is exactly how life goes.
Yeah. Do you feel that your work has changed, and do you think it will continue to change since becoming a mom? I mean,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Like the stand-up really like shook me how much I enjoyed it. Like the thing that's been so different for me is how much pleasure I'm taking in the process.
I'll find a new
product is like a bonus. That's not even a personal experience. The
Yeah.
product, the movie out there in the world, that's not my personal life. My personal life is the process it took to get here. I do a lot of therapy. I get a lot of support in understanding the different contexts within myself, and and I've been newly able to allow them to be integrated. And I've just been, oh my goodness, I've been taking so much pleasure.
I wonder what you think it is. Like, why do you think that this sort of switch happened where you're like, okay, it's not necessarily about, I mean, obviously the product is important, you want it to turn out well, but that you can kind of newly engage with and enjoy just the making.
Well, and also not even that the product's not important, but if I stay present in the process, the product is exactly what I want it to be. And I don't have like mixed feelings about it because I know exactly how we got here.
Yeah.
I am in an analytic process. I go to therapy 3 times a week.
Oh my God, lucky.
And very lucky, very lucky. Thank you, WGA and SAG, for your 2 insurances. I love them.
Do you lie down on the couch?
I lie down on the couch, girl. I love it.
I lie on the couch too, but just once a week.
Yeah. I wish this is what everybody needs, especially as
Exit right.
capitalism is in its late stages, and what we thought the world was is melting, and a new world emerges. We all need
Exit
therapy
right.
3 times a week at least. And absolutely having my daughter, she is the sun. She is my God. I've never. I mean, this is how I start my stand-up hour. I am shocked by the joy. People love to talk about how hard it is and all that. Of course, it's hard. Life is hard. Every day is hard. It's hard to get out of bed.
Right.
But the joy is the thing that I'm like, what the hell? This I'm unprepared for, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
That I'm still working through
Yeah.
how to manage my excitement in my body.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I'll be like,
I know.
And she's
Yeah.
like- and I'm like, dude, this is actually inappropriate
left.
of me.
Right.
Truly.
No, totally. Yeah, you don't want to overwhelm the other.
And I have this in my family, this sort of manic, my mom and then her father, this manic love that I'm like, oh my God, I'm Grandpa Dave.
It's Grandpa Dave.
It's Grandpa Dave. I'm
Yeah.
trying to like chill that Dave out.
Yeah. No, but I mean, I'm sure your daughter appreciates it.
Yeah.
Love is good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Rerouting.
Staff writer Millie Fry talking
Keep
with
left.
comedian Alana Glazer.
And then turn
And her new
left.
film, Babes, is in theaters now.
Turn left.
Before we go, I want to thank everyone. Last week, we asked you to email in any questions you might want us to wrestle with about the 2024 election on the show. And a lot of you have written in. Keep them coming. The email address is newyorkerradio@wnyc.org. I'm David Remnick. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.
The New Yorker Radio Hour is a co-production of WNYC Studios and The New Yorker. Our theme music was composed and
Get ready.
performed by Meryl
Right.
Garbus of 2 Yards, with additional music by Louis Mitchell and Jared Paul. This episode was
Turn
produced by
right.
Max Bolton,
And then
Adam
turn
Howard,
left.
Paula Leah, David Krasnow, Jeffrey Masters, Louis Mitchell, Jared Paul, and Alicia Zuckerman. With guidance from Emily Botine and
Make a
assistance
U-turn.
from Michael
Finding
May,
a new
David
route.
Gable, Alex
Fine.
Parrish,
I'll
Victor
find a
Guan,
new route.
and Alejandra Decken. The New Yorker Radio Hour is supported in part by the Cherina Endowment
Okay.
Fund.
Let's find a new route.
I'm Eddie Robinson, and on this week's I See You, Dawn Porter, the award-winning director behind the documentary that celebrates the life of Grammy-winning singer Luther Vandross.
Luther's voice is in so many places that we weren't attributing to him. And to me, that is such a Black American story.
The untold trials and triumphs of Luther Vandross on the next I See You.
We'll have that for you this evening at 6 p.m. here on News 88.7. Jason Clark here with you on this Memorial Day Sunday weekend. It's going to be hot. Temperatures currently in the low 80s. We are headed for a sunny afternoon with highs expected around 94 degrees. For tomorrow, we are definitely under heat advisory as tomorrow's high could be sunny at 98 degrees. So be careful out there. Stay hydrated. Remember, we are under heat advisory
Reroute.
for this Memorial Day weekend. Should be beautiful, but it's going to be hot. This is your NPR station, KUHF Houston News 88.7, a service of the University of Houston. It is 10 o'clock.
From NPR and WBEZ Chicago, this is Wait, Don't Tell Me, the NPR News Quiz. I'm Bill Curtis.
And I'm Tom Papa. It was a week where our politicians proudly honored the great American tradition, ask not what your country can do for you, but who you can blame for that dumb thing you did. We'll ask who pointed the finger at whom, plus chef and author J. Kenji Lopez Alt stops by to taste our cuisine. And Bill encourages everyone to come see us in Seattle this weekend, even your livestock.
Bring your ass.
We'll ask who's really inviting you over on our quiz, coming up right after this hour's news.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Nora Rahm. Severe weather is forecast today with the chance of more tornadoes in parts of the Midwest and southern U.S. NPR's Amy Held reports tornadoes touched down last night, killing at least 5 people in Texas and doing damage there as well as in Oklahoma.
Tornadoes struck the southern plains Saturday night, overturning trucks, crushing buildings, and knocking out power to tens of thousands of people. As the sun rose Sunday, the extent of the damage came to light. Ray Sappington, sheriff of Cook County north of Dallas, said overnight rescues were still underway.
I'm just thinking about daylight and what we're really going to find. I don't think it's going to be good.
Sappington says the situation remains dangerous.
Our power lines are down. There's been reports of gas leaks back in there.
The National Weather Service says the threat continues Sunday, with tornadoes possible in parts of Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, and Tennessee. Amy Held, NPR News.
The Biden campaign is out with a new memo titled The Road to Atlanta. President Biden and former President Donald Trump are to debate there next month. From member station WABE, Sam Greenglass reports.
Biden campaign manager Jen O'Malley Dillon says Trump's 2024 agenda will be on full display during the June 27th debate.
Drive safe.
The campaign is kicking off that conversation with an ad narrated by Robert De Niro.
We knew Trump was out of control when he was president. Then he lost the 2020 election.
The Biden campaign is also highlighting Trump's Supreme Court appointments that resulted in the repeal of Roe v. Wade. The Trump campaign is hoping for a Biden stumble or gaffe that will overshadow that message.
If crooked Joe Biden makes it through the debate, which I think he will, they're going to say it was one of the great debate performances in history.
Ahead of the Atlanta debate, a jury is expected to deliver a verdict on Trump's criminal hush money charges in New York. For NPR News, I'm Sam Greenglass in Atlanta.
For the first time in several months, Hamas has launched a missile attack on Israel. Rocket sirens sounded in Tel Aviv as well as other cities across central Israel. No casualties were reported. The BBC's Dan Johnson reports the Israeli military says most of the rockets, which appeared to come from the southern city of Rafah, were intercepted.
The Al-Qassam Brigade, the armed wing of Hamas, announced it had launched rockets from Rafah towards Tel Aviv. Sirens have sounded across the city and interceptions have been heard in its skies. This is the first time in months central Israel's been attacked. Hamas said it was targeting the city because of the massacre of its civilians. Israel's military action around Rafah continued over the weekend with airstrikes and ground operations, despite the International Court of Justice ruling on Friday the offensive should be halted immediately.
The BBC's Dan Johnson reporting. This is NPR News in Washington. The Dublin airport said a Qatar Airways plane landed safely as scheduled today after encountering turbulence. 12 people were injured, 8 were hospitalized. The Boeing 787 had flown from Doha when it hit turbulence over Turkey. Last week, a Singapore Airlines flight from London to Singapore made an emergency landing in Bangkok due to turbulence. 1 man died and dozens were injured. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak says he would revive mandatory national service for young people to encourage a national spirit. It's the latest plank in his Conservative Party's platform ahead of the July 4th national election. Willem Marks reports.
Sunak says all 18-year-olds will have to choose between 12-month military service in cyber defense logistics and civil response or part-time community service with fire, police or health work on weekends. His aim is to open 30,000 military response by September next year. Sunak says this will help young people learn, quote, real-world skills, do new things and contribute to their community and our country. It's been decades since Britain ended a national service that was necessary during World War II, and currently the UK military has the lowest headcount of any period in the past 2 centuries. Sunak's Labour Party opponents say the plan would cost around $3 billion, and there's no funding for it without further government borrowing. For NPR News, I'm Willem Marks in London.
In the U.S., the Libertarian Party wraps up its national convention today. Delegates are to select their presidential nominee. Former president and current candidate Donald Trump spoke to the gathering last night and was booed and hailed by some. Trump usually appears before more admiring crowds. I'm Nora Rahm, NPR News.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include the NPR Wine Club, where members can explore wines from around the world, and every purchase supports NPR's high-quality journalism. Available to adults 21 or older. NPRWineClub.org.
From Austin to Houston, Dallas to San Antonio, Marfa, El Paso, and in bureaus across the Lone Star State, reporters are pulling together the stories and the voices of people making news right now, right here in Texas. I'm David Brown, inviting you to join us for a complete view of today's events when it's Texas Standard Time.
The Texas Standard, weekdays at 10 a.m. on News 88.7.
The following program was taped in front of an audience of real live people.
And then turn
From NPR at WBEZ Chicago, this is Wait, Don't Tell Me, the NPR News Quiz. Hey, Seattle, get ready for Meattle. I'm Bill Curtis, and here is your host of the Paramount Theater in Seattle, Washington, filling in for Dieter Sagal. It's Tom Papa.
Hi, everybody. I'm Tom Papa, and I'm filling in for Peter Sagal. And true story, I was not supposed to be here at all today, but thanks to some very last-minute, unforeseen circumstances, now I'm hosting. It just goes to show, if you wish hard enough and long enough, a good friend of yours will get COVID, and you can take his job. Dreams do come true. Later on, Seattle's own food legend, J. Kenji Lopez Alt, will be stopping in our panel. First up, a writer for Big Mouth. Season 7 is on Netflix now. It's Shantira Jackson. Next, the host of the daily podcast TBTL and the public radio variety show Livewire, which will be live at the Alberta Rose Theatre in Portland, June 6th, Luke Burbank.
Hey, Maureen.
And an Emmy-winning writer whose latest book, I'll Show Myself Out, is available in paperback. It's Jessie Klein.
Hi, Maureen.
Welcome to the show, Maureen. You're going to play Who's Bill this time? Bill Curtis is going to read you 3 quotes from this week's news. If you can correctly identify or explain 2 of them, you'll win our prize. Any voice from our show you choose on your voicemail. Are you ready?
Absolutely.
All right. Your first quote is from Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito.
It was done by Mrs. Alito.
Justice Alito there was joining Senator Bob Menendez in what the New York Times this week called a time-honored bipartisan political strategy, blaming who when you get in trouble. Yes, you're right, your wife. The hot new trend is blaming your wife. Justice Alito, Senator Menendez, that guy in the Bible who was the first person ever. Everybody who's anybody is saying it's her fault. The strategy is really very useful. I can't believe my wife gave Peter Sagal COVID.
I think it wasn't the initial story from Alito was his wife decided to do this to troll their neighbor. So the wife had supposedly an argument with the neighbor about politics. This was shortly after January 6th. And so then she had done that to sort of be in your face. But then 2 days later they found at their beach house they were also flying a crazy ass flag from a whole other different conspiracy theory. Which really torpedoed the idea that this was just kind of an across-the-fence argument.
I think that they know what they're doing to us all the time. I think that it's like when toddlers hide and they think you can't see them. They'll just be like, if I just say you can't see me, that's what's happening. I think that's what our entire Supreme Court justices are. They're like, I got on a robe and nobody knows.
Yeah, you're behind the curtains, we see your feet.
Yeah, it was
we see your feet.
Brett Kavanaugh does not understand object permanence.
All right, Maureen, here is your next quote.
My closest friends couldn't tell the difference.
That was an actress angry that an AI company used her voice after she told them they couldn't. Who was upset a chatbot was imitating her?
I want to say Scarlett Johansson.
You bet.
Maybe?
Yeah, Scarlett Johansson. You're right, Maureen. Scarlett Johansson. You got it.
Are you talking to my mom?
Tira, I'm talking to all of our moms. OpenAI, which makes ChatGPT, stole her voice for their chatbot. It was such a huge scandal, no one noticed. They also updated their terms and conditions to, quote, use all our organs for battery.
I offered to let them use my voice free of charge. They described it as limited interest in having Luke Burbank do that. I was listening to a story about this whole, supposedly there's been a huge leap forward in these programs in ChatGPT, and how kind of it is that movie Her, the person that you're dealing with. And they said there's a variety of things you can do with the voice. You can make it angrier. Which, what is the use case for that? I want to make it so that the AI chatbot is angrier at me.
Yes. Yeah. The answer is a kink.
Yes.
I haven't done my work today, ChatGPT. I'm a bad boy. All right, Maureen, your last quote is from the CEO of a big investment firm.
I'll drink water
CEO is part of the latest trend in executives and A-listers making it through the day without what?
Without their cell phone.
No.
Or something different.
Yes.
We've narrowed it down to something different.
We're going to go with something different. I'll give you a hint, Maureen. This is terrible news for businesses here in Seattle, especially Starbucks.
Coffee. Yes, that was my second guess.
Coffee, right.
Yeah. I don't want to do it.
That was very hesitant applause from Seattle audience. Coffee. Everyone is giving up coffee. Mark Zuckerberg, Gisele Bundchen, Mark Cuban, and your friend who everybody now calls Sleepy Dan. The Wall Street Journal calls skipping coffee the latest humble brag. What a weird brag. Can you imagine walking in line at Starbucks just to get to the front and say, nothing for me, thank you?
Well, I think that this is pretty wild because if I had $1 billion, I wouldn't need any coffee either. I'm like, I know what I could do. I'll look at my $1 billion and that'll wake me up.
I do think that if the line is more than 5 people at the coffee shop, your new order is black coffee. Like I'm sorry,
Yes.
there'd be a sign where like you know at the train station it's going click 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 like all the, it just goes down to everyone's ordering black coffee till we get this sorted out.
Yes.
Yes. I love that.
It's like when someone at a crowded bar is like, I'll have the specialty mojito. And like the bartender has to take out like 60 tools. And like
Don their leather vest. Get ready for
could we
artistic.
have a beer?
I support everybody doing stuff black. So
I've never felt like more of an ally.
The ally. The white man ally.
Thank you, white man.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Welcome, America.
All right, Bill, how did Maureen do?
She's going to be running down the streets of Lawrence, Kansas, saying, I won, I won, I won.
Good job, Maureen. Thank you, Maureen. Thanks for playing, and good luck with the cat and the squirrel. Panel, it's time for you to answer some questions about this week's news. Luke, listen to this quote from Bill.
Ring ya ass.
That is now the official tourism slogan of what state?
Oh man. Well, we can rule out Utah. So I got it down to 49.
Would you like a hint?
I would love a hint, Tom.
Okay. It replaces land of 10,000 lakes, you
What?
ass.
It's Minnesota?
That's right. Minnesota. When the Minnesota Timberwolves made it to the NBA Western Conference Finals this week, commentator Charles Barkley said, I haven't been to Minnesota in 20 years. And T-Wolves star Anthony Edwards responded, bring your ass. Then, and we fully support this, Minnesota's state tourism agency immediately adopted the slogan. And bringyouраss.com now redirects you to their website.
Oh my God.
I have to say, personally, I really hope this catches on in every state. Just think, Virginia is for ass lovers. Or my favorite, what happens in Vegas stays in your ass.
Medically true.
I think it's pretty good. I mean, Minnesota, right? Why not?
That's their other slogan.
Minnesota, your girlfriend's family lives there.
Coming up, whatever you do, don't look up. We'll tell you why in our Bluff the Listener game. Call 1-888-WAIT-WAIT to play. We'll be back in a minute with more of Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me from NPR.
Hi, I'm Craig Cohen, reminding you to subscribe to the Houston Matters podcast. catch each day's show at your convenience. And now you can also find separate feeds of our regular conversations, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and the full menu. It's all available wherever you get your podcasts.
Tired of the racket and the rancor? Our imperfect union has a ways to go, but we won't know where we're going if we don't know where we're coming from. That's why we're here. Just because things are complicated, that doesn't mean we have to be confused. Join me, Jen White, for daily conversation for a changing country. Next time on 1A.
1A, weekdays at 11 a.m. on News 88.7.
Support comes from St. Luke's Health, presenting Innovating Health, a 6-part video series highlighting healthcare innovations in Houston. Episode 2 explores advanced specialized care and is available now at stlukeshealth.org/innovatinghealth.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations and Progressive Insurance, where drivers can compare direct rates using Progressive's rate comparison tool. Customers can see options and rates side by side, or at progressive.com or 1-800-PROGRESSIVE. Subaru, featuring the 2024 Subaru Forester Wilderness with 9.2 inches of ground clearance and all-terrain tires for off-road capability. Learn more at Subaru.com/wilderness. And BritBox, dedicated to helping people discover a world of British TV, including new original crime thriller After the Flood from the producers of Happy Valley. Streaming at BritBox.com/NPR. From NPR and WBEZ Chicago, this is Wait, Don't Tell Me, the NPR News Quiz. I'm Bill Curtis. We are playing this week with Shantira Jackson, Jesse Klein, and Luke Burbank. And here again is your host at the Paramount Theater in Seattle, Washington. Filling in for Peter Sagal, it's Tom Papa.
Thanks, Bill. Right now, it's time for the Wait, Don't Tell Me Bluff the Listener game. Call 1-888-WAIT-WAIT to play our game on air, or check out the pinned post on our Instagram page at WaitNPR. Hi, you're on Wait, Don't Tell Me.
Hi, Tom. This is Greg. I'm calling from Corte Madera, California. Just a few freeway exits north of the Golden Gate Bridge in Marin County.
Oh, that is a good part of the country. What do you do there? What do you do there for fun?
Well, when I'm not in my hot tub, we enjoy hiking with the dog.
I feel like the hot tub was kind of an invitation.
Anybody from the panel is welcome to join.
Not now. We got a ways to go. All right, it's nice to have you with us, Greg. You're going to play our game in which you must try to tell the truth from fiction. What's the topic, Bill?
Stain-blocking ceiling paint in the news.
Much like winning a hot dog eating contest, getting stains on your ceiling is both disgusting and impressive. Stain-blocking ceiling paint hit the headlines this week. Our panelists are going to tell you why. Pick the one who's telling the truth, and you'll win the waiter of your choice on your voicemail. First up is Jesse Klein.
Bryn Smith has long been considered a medical miracle by all who know her in her close-knit community of Montecito, California. Even though she just turned 70 years old, she appears no older than a fresh-faced 21-year-old. Bryn has been famously tight-lipped about it until this week, when on the occasion of her 70th birthday, she gave an interview to the local paper in which she finally spilled the beans, or rather, the paint. Californians are used to rooting out beauty tricks that you might not expect, says Bryn. We use natural aloe for sunburns, honey and chamomile for face masks, things like that. So years ago, when someone on my anti-vax Friendster group told me they'd heard about using stain-protecting ceiling paint for skin, I was all ears, like, you've got my attention. The good thing, Bryn recounts, is that it's affordable and you can find it in bulk anywhere paint is sold. Bryn recalls once asking her local hardware store why they always had so much of it. I asked, doesn't anyone else here buy it? And they said, not really, just a few old pervs here and there.
So that's 70-year-old sunscreen ceiling paint from Jesse Klein. Your next paint parable comes from Luke Burbank.
What do you get for the person who has everything? An indictment in Arizona, a $153 million judgment for defamation in Georgia, a tenuous relationship with brown hair dye. No, this guy's already got all of that. Rudy Giuliani is turning 80 years young this month, and he's going to party like it's his birthday, with celebrations in New York and Palm Beach. And the invite that went out did include an Amazon gift registry with things that he was asking for. A document scanner, a podcasting microphone, and something listed as stain-blocking ceiling paint, which someone has purchased for him. It is unclear what Giuliani's exact plans are for the paint or how his ceilings got so stained, but it's safe to assume he'll be blaming it on Crooked Hillary or Sleepy Joe, which ironically is also the name of a weighted anti-anxiety teddy bear that he's requested. Still available on the list, $49.99.
So that's Rudy Giuliani creepy ceiling paint from Luke Burbank. And your last story of the scare up there comes from Shantira Jackson.
Kristen Waite is a retired nurse from Des Moines, Iowa. She's always been a couponer and even made an appearance on Extreme Couponing in the 90s. After retiring, Kristen moved on from coupons and set her sights on winning raffles. After much trial and error and a little bit of luck, Kristen won her first prize, a pack of kosher hot dogs from her local deli. And boy, was she hooked. Kristen got so good at winning, there were new prizes showing up on her front door every morning. Her husband Dan began to worry when Kristen started winning raffles for things she didn't really need. Kristen agreed to go to Raffles Anonymous twice a week, and things were going great until an 18-wheeler full of a lifetime supply of stain-blocking ceiling paint pulled up to the house. Even if they painted every ceiling in Des Moines, there would still be an endless supply. Now, Kristen finally learned her lesson and gave up on big raffles, though she still enters local raffles for donuts and other desserts. She calls it being California sober.
Okay, Greg. So you've got the 70-year-old sunscreen ceiling paint from Jesse Klein. You've got the Rudy Giuliani asking for stain-blocking ceiling paint for his 80th birthday from Luke. And Shantira's story about a raffle-addicted woman who hit rock bottom by winning ceiling paint. Which is the real story from this week's news?
I believe New York's former mayor may have put something strange on his birthday list.
All right, so your choice is Luke's story about Rudy Giuliani. To find out the correct answer, we spoke to the reporter who broke the real story.
Gifts on Rudy Giuliani's birthday list included a 55-inch TV, Giorgio Armani cologne, and stain-blocking ceiling paint.
Oh, that was Ian Moore of Page 6 talking about Rudy Giuliani's birthday wish list, which for reasons best left unknown included stain-blocking ceiling paint. Congratulations, Greg, you got it right.
Yay!
You earned a point for Luke Burbank, and you won our prize, the voice of your choice on your voicemail. Thank you for playing with us, Greg.
Thanks, everybody.
See you in the hot tub.
And now the game we call Not My Job. J. Kenji Lopez Alt is a chef and food writer who first found fame creating the Food Lab blog for Serious Eats. Since then, he started his own YouTube channel, wrote a kid's book, and has been going restaurant by restaurant on a quest to eat all the teriyaki in Seattle.
There's a lot of it.
J. Kenji Lopez Alt, welcome to Wait, Don't Tell Me. It's really good to see you. You had a very interesting first job getting into the restaurant business when you were a youngster. What was that job?
I was a knight of the round grill at a Mongolian grill. You know, one of those places where my first job was actually prep cook. I got promoted to knight of the round grill within a month.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How did you rank?
I watch the news.
Last question. Maybe the most serious pair of feet ever belong to Michael Flatley, Lord of the Dance.
Okay, yeah.
But his feet didn't just make him millions as a dancer, he also did what with them? A, played the drums with Wynton Marsalis' jazz band, holding the sticks with his toes. B, used them as brushes to make paintings on the floor based on the theme of the Irish potato famine.
isn't that odd. Wearing jumpers won't make me a fraud. Give my accent a break. I am not being fake. I've been changed after living.
Turn left.
Abroad!
Yes.
Got it.
That's right, abroad. You know that dumb little accent your friend has when they come back from study abroad? Turns out it's real. Linguistics has just validated the worst person at your college who came back from Barcelona.
Ibiza. So fun to say.
Yeah.
Calgary.
Oh, that one gets me every time.
Luke, you're not getting the game.
All right, here's your next limerick.
Leaving picnic trash is a grave sin, but this box is too large to fit in. After lunch on the grass, next to cardboard and glass, my used pizza box gets its own
bin?
That's right, bin. Last week, New York Central Park Conservatory installed a new recycling bin just for pizza boxes. There's never been a trash can so tailored to New Yorkers since the one that rented for $6,000 a month. The new receptacle is tall and square, so you can stack pizza boxes flat instead of having to cram the pizza box into a little round hole, the same way you cram the pizza slice into your face hole. All right, here's your last limerick.
Young men who are not fully grown have a scent that makes most mortals moan. But most body spray keeps their classmates at bay. So they're wearing expensive.
Is it cologne?
Yes, it is. Cologne. According to the New York Times, luxury cologne is all the rage with middle school boys. Apparently, they've all moved on from low-tax body spray to Tom Ford's $300 tobacco vanille. And for the little ones, Chanel number this many.
I feel like this middle school boys have always been on either two ends of the spectrum where it's absolutely never seen deodorant a day in their lives, or more cologne than any one human should ever have on.
Yeah, I think a lot of teenage boys, like, my memory of this was their understanding is that they have to use, that it's like a single-use bottle.
They really should just back up and encourage these kids to start with the simple things like showering and toothpaste. Bill, how did Tiffany do?
Tiffany was perfect. 3 in a row.
Thank you so much. That's such a dream.
Thank you so much for being here. Say goodbye to Tiffany, everyone.
Bye, Tiffany.
Now, on to our final game, Lightning Fill in the Blank. Each of our players will have 60 seconds in which to answer as many fill-in-the-blank questions as they can. Each correct answer is worth 2 points. Bill, can you give us the score?
Luke has 3, Shantara and Jesse each have 2.
Ooh, so a tie with 2. Jesse, we're going to start with you.
Oh, boy.
The clock will start when I begin your first question.
Okay.
Fill in the blank.
Boy.
On Thursday, the Justice Department filed an antitrust lawsuit against blank.
Ticketmaster.
Right. On Wednesday, Donald Trump's primary challenger blank said she would vote for him.
Nikki Haley.
Right. This week, dozens of people were injured after several blanks touched down in Iowa.
Tornadoes.
Right. Following a fatal helicopter crash, funeral services for the president of blank began on Tuesday.
Iran.
Right. After being told by the city that the boat in his driveway needed to be behind a fence, a man in California built the fence and then blanked.
Go straight on.
And then painted it.
Right. Painted a photorealistic picture of his boat on it. On Monday, seafood chain blank officially filed for bankruptcy.
Red Lobster.
Right. On Wednesday, Mattel announced that 9 female athletes would have blank dolls created of office motto, neither snow, nor rain, nor heat, nor some D-bag in a souped-up Mustang will stop us.
What a world.
Bill, how did Jesse do?
7 right, 14 more. Total of 16. You're in the lead.
Wow. Nicely done. All right, Shantira, you're up next. Fill in the blank. On Tuesday, Spain, Norway, and Ireland formally recognized blank's statehood.
Outside.
Right. On Wednesday, Prime Minister Rishi Sunak announced surprise elections in blank.
The UK?
Right. This week, the defense rested in blank's hush money trial.
Trump.
Right. According to new data, blank levels are expected to rise faster than predicted.
Sea levels?
Right. While responding to a call about a car colliding with a moose, an ambulance in Canada blanked.
Hit a moose.
Right. According to a new study, taking blank oil supplements may increase risk of stroke.
Fish oil?
Right. This week, a bill was put before the Taiwanese parliament that one member disagreed
and then a
with.
Man ran away with it, and it was cool as hell.
That's right.
Great guess.
To make sure it didn't pass, he stole the bill off the podium and tried to run out of the building. It was shocking to see, but don't worry, it could never happen in America because no one in Congress has been able to move faster than a brisk walk for at least 20 years. Bill, how did Shantira do?
I can't remember this happening, but she got 7 right, 14 more points, total of 16. Tied. Jesse.
So, how many does Luke need to win? 7. Okay, Luke, this is for the game. Fill in the blank. On Thursday, the Supreme Court sided with the GOP over a redistricting map in blank.
South Carolina.
Right. On Wednesday, the White House announced a new round of blank debt relief.
Student loan.
Right. This week, families of students and teachers at Robb Elementary School in blank reached a $2 million settlement with the city.
Uvalde.
Right. On Monday, the International Criminal Court announced it was seeking an arrest warrant for Israeli President blank.
Benjamin Netanyahu.
Right. This week, world champion speed eater Takiro Kobayashi announced he was retiring to focus on blank.
Curing his heartburn.
Close, to focus on his gut health.
I mean, I'm getting up.
All right. You're making a case. I'm going to go for the judgment to Bill. Does he get that?
For gut health. It's health.
You're in. Right. Citing slower than average sales, Nissan announced it was postponing production on some blank vehicles.
EVs.
Right. This week, a mariachi band who attacked a fire eater to take his performance space on a street in Mexico regretted their actions after the fire eater blanked.
Blew fire on them.
Yes. In video captured by security cameras, you can see the mariachi band trying to force the fire eater out of his space, only to be met by a bunch of fireballs. The band quickly fled the scene and decided to try their luck against... Oh no, why did they pick the shark juggler? Bill, did Luke do well enough to win?
Well, he got 7 right, 14 more points, and he totaled 17 with a win.
In just a minute, we'll ask our panelists to predict who's going to blame their spouse next. But first, let me tell you that support for NPR comes from NPR stations and BetterHelp, committed to supporting mental health through therapy and helping clients find balance. Clients are matched with one of 35,000 therapists for online therapy from anywhere at betterhelp.com/public. Easy Cater, committed to helping companies from nonprofits to the Fortune 500 find food for meetings and company events. With online ordering and 24/7 live support, learn more at easycater.com. And Progressive Insurance. Progressive is looking for individuals in a variety of career fields who want to help build a culture of inclusiveness. More information, including application, at progressive.com/careers. Wait, Don't Tell Me is a production of Our senior producer is Ian Chillag. The executive producer, wait, don't tell me, is Mike Danforth. Now, panel, who's gonna be the next person to blame their spouse? Shantira Jackson.
Every suburban mom is going to blame her husband for making Red Lobster go bankrupt after he ate too much at Endless Shrimp.
Luke Burbank.
Chiefs kicker Harrison Butker will blame his wife for letting him think that leaving the house and speaking his mind was an okay thing for a man to do.
Jesse Klein.
Well, Elon Musk isn't married, but if he was, he would try to blame the Cybertruck design on his wife, but no one would believe it because only a man could make something that looks that stupid.
And if any of that happens, panel, we'll ask you about it on Wait, Don't Tell Me.
Thank you, Bill Curtis. Thanks also to Shantira Jackson, Luke Burbank, and Jesse Klein. Thank you to the staff and crew at the Paramount Theater. Special thanks to KNKX at KUOW here in Seattle. And thanks to all of you for listening. I'm Tom Papa in for Peter Sagal, and we'll see you next week. This is NPR.
Maybe you start your day with the news on Morning Edition and catch up later with All Things Considered. Well, news doesn't wait. Stories evolve during the day, in courtrooms, financial markets, on the streets, and at kitchen tables, locally, nationally, around the world. Hi, it's Robin Young. Each weekday, check in with Here and Now for the news as it's happening.
Go straight
It's
on.
Here and Now from WBUR and NPR News.
Here and Now, weekdays beginning at noon on News 88.7.
Jason Clark here with you on this Memorial Day Sunday morning. It's News 88.7. Temperatures currently in the mid-80s. We're looking at a scorcher this afternoon. Mostly sunny skies called for with a high near 94. Heat index values could be as high as 107. There'll be a south wind around 15 miles per hour with gusts as high as 25 miles per hour. Tonight it'll be partly cloudy with lows around 79. Continued wind gusts possibly as high as 20 miles per hour. Setting up for a hot Memorial Day. Mostly sunny and hot with highs near 98. The heat index values as high as 114. We are under heat advisory throughout this holiday weekend, so stay hydrated and be careful out there. Do have an accident on 288 northbound at MacGregor Drive. One vehicle affecting both the right shoulder and the right lane. This is your NPR station, KUHF Houston News 88.7, a service of the University of Houston. For more of your local news in Houston, you can visit our website at houstonpublicmedia.org. It's 11 o'clock. Here is Day 6.
Hi, I'm Emil Niazi in for Brent Bambury. This is Day 6.
GPT-4o sounds suspiciously like
Go
U.S.
straight
actress
on.
Scarlett Johansson.
This is clearly programmed to feed dudes' egos.
Things are getting messy at OpenAI again.
OpenAI's long-term AI risk team has disbanded.
OpenAI's week of missteps, from a flirty chatbot to resignations over ethics. That's coming up on Day 6. Today, containing the spread.
Now seeing it in cows, I think it is concerning.
How to keep bird flu at bay. Back from the front lines.
We left our hearts there.
A trauma surgeon on what he witnessed in Gaza. And the song he wouldn't give up on.
I make this record out of sheer joy.
Andy Kim on 50 years of Rock Me Gently. All today on Day 6. The self-made Saturdays edition. We're back after the news.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Nora Rahm. Several rockets launched from Gaza were intercepted by the Israeli military above Tel Aviv today. NPR's Kat Lonsdorf reports from Tel Aviv. This is the first time rockets have been fired toward the city from Gaza in many months.
Booms were heard from the ground and puffs of smoke lingered in the skies overhead after Israel's Iron Dome defense system worked to shoot down the rockets. Hamas claimed responsibility for the attack on their Telegram channels. According to the Israeli military, the rockets were launched from the southern city of Rafah in Gaza, where Israel was recently ordered by the UN's International Court of Justice to stop its military operations. Israel says its operations there are in order to defend
OpenAI denies those allegations, but says it's going to pause using the voice anyway. And behind the scenes, there's even more drama. A number of senior execs have exited the company, and in particular, it's the people responsible for long-term safety and ethics that are heading out the door. One former employee said OpenAI was putting, quote, shiny products above safety.
Me? Well, color me intrigued.
Sigal Samuel is a senior tech reporter at Vox who focuses on AI. She's been reporting on the recent developments at OpenAI. Sigal, welcome to Day 6.
Thanks for having me.
I actually want to start by playing a little clip of that Sky voice. Let's take a listen.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey there. It's going great. I see you're rocking an OpenAI hoodie. Nice choice. What's up with that ceiling, though?
So what is your reaction the first time you actually heard the Sky voice in the new ChatGPT demo?
I think my reaction was sort of a combination of this sounds kind of breathy and flirty in a way that personally is like not my favorite. And B, this doesn't sound identical to, but sounds kind of reminiscent of one Scarlett Johansson.
Right, of course. Why do you think they gave it this, hyper feminine voice in the first place?
So that's actually really common, whether it's Alexa or Siri. It is based on research showing that people tend to prefer that kind of a voice when they need help with something because they find it non-threatening, and that sort of flirty female voice is designed to kind of comfort them and plump up their ego and make them feel good about themselves.
Yeah, we don't have time to unpack all that. Sure. So OpenAI, is pausing the use of that voice now because, as you mentioned, it sounded an awful lot like Scarlett Johansson. She's saying they're using it without her consent. What's the response been from the company, and what do you think about how they're handling this situation?
So OpenAI has sort of come out and said, we cast the voice actor behind Sky's voice before any outreach to Johansson, and that it was not intended to resemble her voice, and yet OpenAI took down the Sky voice. So that's a little odd, right? If OpenAI didn't do anything untoward there, why would it take down the voice? And I also think it's worth noting that it doesn't necessarily follow that they never cloned Scarlett Johansson's voice internally at the company, that they didn't use Scarlett Johansson's voice to train the model. And I've asked OpenAI about this, and so far they've just evaded the question.
Right, of course, and I have to mention that in her open letter about this voice, Scarlett Johansson does say that they wanted her to be the voice of Sky, and she had initially said no, and they had some back and forth.
Right, and the second time was literally 2 days before the demo.
Yeah.
So clearly she was on their minds.
So what kind of ethical concerns does all of this raise?
It raises the issue of deepfakes, right? AI kind of cloning our voices or modifying our images to make it seem like we did things we never actually did. And I think it also frankly raises questions about a woman's consent. I actually asked ChatGPT about this type of scenario more generally, and ChatGPT, in its reply, mentioned that this behavior can sometimes be characterized as a form of victim blaming or gaslighting.
That's very interesting. I want to move to the company itself because, in recent weeks, they lost multiple senior staff members, and you've talked to a number of people close to the company recently. What have you found out about why some of these employees are leaving?
So what I've been hearing from my sources is that although the media tends progress on making these systems more safe. But you can only do that work when the company is supporting you, including by giving your safety team enough computing power to do the kind of research you need to be doing, which it reports say OpenAI was not doing. And if you kind of feel like the leader is sort of saying publicly, oh yeah, we care about safety, but then doing things that really undermine that in practice, it's really hard to stay at the company and think that your work is going to be used in a positive way, as opposed to the term some people use is safety washing.
You know, a recent poll from the Artificial Intelligence Policy Institute actually says that 52% of Americans now hold an unfavorable opinion of OpenAI. And I'm curious, given how much of a stronghold it has on AI at the moment, does that even matter? Does it change anything?
I think that's a really, really good question. Yeah, and it does make me think about a big company like Amazon, which at this point we have lots of reason to be very skeptical about and to not be super fond of, and yet people continue to buy lots of stuff off Amazon, right? I think, though, that now the burden of proof really is on OpenAI to convince the public that it's worthy of trust, and to convince regulators and legislators, because legislators should really be catching on that this is not a case where we can be saying to ourselves, oh, Sam Altman, boy genius. There's ample evidence now that people should be concerned about where AI is headed generally, but also specifically under the leadership of Sam Altman. And so I'm hoping that we start to see more aggressive legislation coming in.
You know, Sigal, all of this sort of leads me to wondering, is there a way to build something like ChatGPT that is ethical, or at least isn't, you know, sort of actively harmful?
I think the answer is arguably no. The whole point of OpenAI was it was supposed to be like the safe and ethical one, right? But then what it discovered is that in order to build these super advanced AI systems, you need an incredible amount of data and you need an incredible amount of computing power. And for that, you need an incredible amount of money. It seems like you kind of can't get around that if you want to be able to
ancestors, if you will, or to sort of meditate through while cooking. What's been wonderful on social media is to see all of these attempts at the biscuits that people send me. Mm-hmm. And I think biscuits are really simple to make, but they also help me sort of commune with the ancestors when I'm making biscuits or cornbread. And the smell of the cornbread, the sizzle of it going into the skillet.
When you were doing the research, is there anything that surprised you?
Well, perhaps thinking about my mother and her need for birthday celebration. And thinking about sort of the history of Black people not being able to celebrate during enslavement, not knowing their birthdays. That was a surprise.
That was a lovely part. You tell a little bit about your mother loved her birthdays. She just, right? So tell us about what would that be like?
Yeah.
And it's actually
Valentine's Day. My mother's a Valentine's baby, and so was one of my uncles. February 14th was her birthday, and she would start around Thanksgiving. That's when we would all be together. She would start and she'd say, you know what's coming up? Guess what's coming up? And we all knew what she was doing. Or she would call me and say, my birthday's coming up in a few months. I mean, I think it started as early as July sometimes, but she was always talking about her birthday. And then when I did the research and I connected the history of birthdays for Black people in America, I was like, well, maybe she sort of innately knew this. And I think it also, I hadn't realized how important I also thought birthdays were. Because I always tried to make my children's birthdays special when they were little, even to my own detriment.
I think it's worth it. You only have it once a year, right?
That's true. It's true.
I also I like how you talk about recipes as being like poems, and you're a poet also. How does it seem like a poem to you? How do you compare poems and recipes?
Well, I think it started with hearing my grandmother. Recipes are both, at least in my family, they're both oral and aural. So there's a storytelling element that I think makes them very poetic. And of course,
straight on.
where we're from, the accent and the cadence of the voice is melodic. And in giving me the recipes, she would say, now, what you're gonna need is a bowl about the size of that white one down in that cabinet. Reach down there and you'll see what I'm talking about. And, you know, if I pulled out the wrong one, law me, Crystalline, that is not the right one, the white one, the one with the rim around the top. And then I would grab that up and she'd say, you're gonna fill that about half full. Then you'll need a pinch of this, you'll need a dab of that, and just the rhythm in her voice. And I think all the women of her time from down home sounded that way. I mean, I think it's like in that passage that I read, I mean, I think it's cellular memory, right? Like it soothes me. It's almost like a meditation when I think about them making it, and then I sort of become, I feel like in many ways I've become my grandmother. Not only do I see her doing it, when I look down at my own hands, my hands are moving in the same way with the same rhythm that she had. You know, I make that sort of a joke of like when she would stir things by hand so hard that her breast would be shaking in her house dress and the meat on her arm would be flapping. And now when I'm beating a cake by hand, I'm like, oh, there she is. Like, there it is. Like that same sort of rhythm, that same motion. You know, not only can you look at old pictures and see the faces of your children or your siblings or your aunts in this generation, I would like to think that some of the things that they did or how they spoke, things we can't see in a photograph, are also present.
Keep writing.
That was Crystal Wilkinson, author of Praise Song for the Kitchen Ghosts, talking with Shannon Henry Kleiber. You know, the funny thing about food is that no matter how vividly you remember the taste of something, it can be nearly impossible to put into words.
Is there any way that you can articulate to people who can't taste this anymore what the hell was so special about these fries?
Joey, you're really trying to like spark my memory.
Did you just call me Joey?
Joe, I said Joe.
Oh.
I said Joe, you're really trying to spark my memory. That was how many years ago?
I was just 30, Angie.
Just 30. God.
Joe Hartke runs into a former classmate on the way to the drive-in later this hour. On to the best of our knowledge from Wisconsin Public Radio and PRX.
Polls show Venezuela's authoritarian president, Nicolas Maduro, could lose his bid for re-election next month. If he loses, Maduro faces serious charges from the International Criminal Court, as well as a $15 million bounty on his head from the United States. Does the hardline president have any moves left if he loses the election? Find out on All Things Considered from NPR News.
This afternoon at 4 on Public Radio 89.5.
Support for Public Radio Tulsa is provided by Elote Cafe and Catering at 514 South Boston Avenue in the heart of downtown Tulsa. Elote is a woman-owned restaurant focusing on sustainable practices and offering a fresh Mex menu, margaritas, and catering.
This is listener-supported public radio from the University of Tulsa. Public Radio 89.5, KWGS HD1, Tulsa.
You could tell the story of your whole life in food, from the taste of home to that first trip on the wild side of the flavor palette. Maybe in a big city.
So it's back in the early 2000s where you could hop on a flight to New York City for $88 round trip.
This is writer Amy Nizuka Matatil, author of the new memoir, Bite, Bite, Bite.
I was single, I had my first job, most of my friends were in New York City. Most of my friends at the time were living in kind of cramped apartments, so restaurants would host us. Restaurants would actually have fruit on hand, and miracle fruit is a great little jelly bean-sized fruit, and if you eat one, everything you eat afterwards tastes sweet. So if you eat a saltine cracker after you've had a miracle fruit, you would never know it's saltine. It would taste like a graham cracker. If you eat a lemon, you would swear that you were eating an orange.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so it would be flavor tripping. That's what they call them. They were kind of this niche outing that you could do, and restaurants serve up either kind of sour or spicy foods. It was more of like a light buffet, but the grand finale was a Guinness. The gist of it is you have a miracle fruit, take a drink of Guinness, and it tastes like a chocolate milkshake. You would have to be convinced that that was your drinking beer. So it's a wild, deliriously, exquisitely ebullient night. What is going on in my mouth? And it was all from fruit. It was all from fruit.
So I wanted to talk with Amy because her new memoir is all about food and memory. She began it during the pandemic, when cooking was a way of staying connected to the family she couldn't see. Parents in Florida, grandparents in India and the Philippines. And I think family recipes became more precious to a lot of us during lockdown. When I told Amy that I have some old recipe cards handwritten by my great-grandmother, a woman I never even met, she knew right away what that meant.
Oh my gosh, do you have them in a safe place?
I do, yes.
Good.
Yes, they're some of the first things that get taken out in the event of a fire.
Yes.
So I wanted to ask, your father's from India and your mother's from the Philippines.
That's right.
How did the foods of those geographies affect the way you grew up, the way you cook?
Well, it's interesting because, first of all, I love both cuisines. What a lucky upbringing, right? In some ways. Oh my gosh, the fact that I had lumpia and various curries, really without ever having to leave the house from such a young age, it just seems like magic, and so much care and love wrapped up in that. But I also think, too, it's slightly different, my story, because we were the nuclear family. My mom came here. None of her relatives were here. Same thing with my father. They had each other. You know, both of them come from tropical areas, India and the Philippines, and they met in Chicago. And I have to wonder how it kind of breaks my heart a little bit to think of these two immigrants from such tropical, hot countries trying to make food that they remember in the middle of a blizzard for their American children. They definitely made it a point that we grew up knowing their food from their various countries, but at the same time, I also know how hard won that was.
And growing food was a big part of your family also. Your parents always had a garden, it seems like.
Absolutely. It was almost considered wasteful. You have a yard and you're not doing something with it. You're not helping grow fruits and vegetables that you can share with neighbors, you know, that kind of thing.
You write that their love language is their garden. And
That's right.
in particular, you write so beautifully about mangoes. And they have this wonderful kind of back and forth about whose mangoes are best,
Yes.
the Filipino mangoes or the Indian mangoes.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the only kind of squabble they have in the garden is like, no, the Philippine mangoes are the best. Everything else, they wish they could be better than the Philippine mangoes, you know?
How different do they taste?
You know, I didn't even really fully understand how many varieties of mangoes there are. So there's some that have a hint of almost cherry to it. There's some that are really thready and, you know, they have a lot of fibers. It's kind of a pain in the behind to eat. Then there's others that it almost like falls off your spoon as you scoop it up. So different levels of tartness, different levels of sweetness.
I guess I was wondering, reading your book, how much it's changed to be writing about foods that you grew up with as the child of immigrants. There's a story you tell at the very beginning of the book about you were in grad school and you wrote a poem about mangoes. And I mean, rather than me telling your story, I'll just ask you, what happened?
Oh, yeah. And I mean, boy, that's exhibit A of like how far we've come with food discourse, how we treat difference or anything. I mean, the gist of it is I took graduate courses in creative writing, and there's one class period we spent the entire, kind of half hour all just debating whether or not I should put the word mango, which I used in a poem, in italics or a footnote, because it was too so-called, and I'm using air quotes here, too foreign or too exotic.
Wow.
And people may not know what it is, so you might need to explain a mango with a definition or something. And
my God, do you need to footnote mango?
I know, exactly. Where I grew up, even in Chicago or Iowa, my parents found ways to find mangoes somehow. It did not seem exotic or weird or bizarre. It was weird and bizarre that other people did not have mangoes. But I can't say that in a class full of white folks who were all telling me how foreign and strange this fruit was.
I mean, it's funny now, but it sounds really painful.
Yeah, I'm absolutely laughing and smiling, recalling this time. But at the time, it was like, wow, can we give me commentary on the content of the poem? What else can I do with the poem? I wanted feedback. I wanted helpful feedback.
Yeah, it's changed a lot. And don't you also think in this one area, we got it right?
Yes.
Food and cooking, embracing diversity, and this just makes everything richer and more fun and more joyous. And so if we get that in the world of food and cooking, maybe we can manage it in other arenas also.
I know, right? That's exactly it, Anne. Oh my goodness.
I'm curious, is the mango poem in your book, is that the one you wrote in that class?
It is not.
Can I ask you to read it anyway? Did you have your book with you?
I do. Let me see.
Okay.
All right. This is called The Origin of the Mango. Of course, my parents can't agree. My father says one of its flat, stringy seeds floated all the way from India and just happened to land on the Philippine shoreline. Anything good comes from India, according to my father. Swirls of calligraphy, the darkest, purest gold, hammered into rings and loopy bangles, paprika, and web-thin silks that send hundreds of pirates in a frenzied search to the east. But mangoes? My mother doesn't buy it. She says the queen fruit of her beloved islands came from a tree growing in the spot where a Filipina named Malanga pierced her heart through with a knife. The girl's parents wanted her to marry someone she did not love, a regular Juliet. The tree grows bold and thick in the swell of winter, pushes out a dozen heart-shaped fruits so we won't forget. I think of my parents. Their hands slip into mangoes with a knife blade, fingers fly lightly over the skins. Different countries, same blood, hungry for this fruit. Its flesh, like cold sweetmeat, fibers spun gold, sweet pulp in the teeth. The fight over the seed and who gets to suck each sugary fiber from the pit. It only curls their wet hands together even more. Only gets more gold juice, the right story.
I love that. I love that the way you bring the story and the juice and the mango all together at the end. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
So your earlier book was about wonder.
Mm-hmm.
But it does seem to me that your writing in this book is also so much about wonder. But in this case, it's the wonder of exploring the world with our mouths and tongues.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm just wondering what you'd say about the way wonder and taste come together in how we apprehend the world.
Oh, I love that question. It's so expansive. And gosh, that sounds like almost an essay prompt for a whole nother essay that, an extra coda to the book. But I guess I would just say that to tackle that question, it would have to be remembering that memory is so tied up with smells, and smell is therefore tied up with taste more than any other sense biologically. And I'm not a scientist, so scientists can weigh in, but the place in our brains that processes memory is also coincidentally the same place that processes smell. And so I think there's something about smell and food that brings us together because we want to share our memories. Oh, that reminds me of my grandmother. That reminds me of my first kiss. That reminds me of a not great date. Whatever it is, it conjures up memories just when we least expect it, more than any other sense. So I think there's definitely something about the sharing of food and food moments with each other that makes us feel not so alone. We can't help but want to share these stories with other people too. So yeah, I love that question. But in a big nutshell, that's what I would go for.
Well, that's interesting because I think of wonder. It's such a hard sensation to, it almost feels wrong to try to define it in a way, because wonder to me is all about expansiveness, about making whatever experience you're having right now in the moment bigger. And that's what you just described with food or with scent, the way you can be standing right here. I don't know, I can take a carton of raspberries out of the refrigerator, and even though, okay, they're refrigerated raspberries that were picked 10 days ago somewhere, far away from me, nevertheless, I can stand there and smell them and be transported back to my grandparents' berry patch in Springfield, Missouri, standing on a summer vacation, picking berries straight into my morning cereal bowl.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Tasting that warmth of the sun. I mean, nothing I can buy in the store or that comes in plastic is ever going to taste remotely like that, but I can get just a little tiny hit of it. And so for that moment, I'm in two places and the world is so much bigger.
Absolutely. I love that. Even in your sharing of that story, I'm here in a hotel room in Minnesota and suddenly I'm in that field with you and I can almost taste the sun-ripened berry on a tongue. And that's what I love about food writing. That's what I love about sharing food stories, is that no matter where you are, if you are descriptive enough, if you are specific enough, you can bring along a friend for the whole journey and never lose them. You get this trust and it becomes interactive. It becomes reciprocal. It's not just me lecturing you, as a professor. It's me taking your hand or nudging you along to say, come with me, come with me.
Thank you for talking. It's been lovely.
Thank you. Thank you.
Amy Nezuko-Matatil is the author of 4 books of poetry, a collection of nature essays called World of Wonders, and a new memoir, Bite by Bite. And now, come with us on a trip down Highway 42 to Kewaunee, Wisconsin, where in the 1980s, farm kids like Joe Hartke used to head to Jumbo's Drive-In after a long day in the fields. 40 years later, people are still talking about its legendary fries. And for Joe, the story of Jumbo's is the story of small-town America.
I mean, it was a drive-up.
I don't remember it not being there.
Car hop came out to your car.
Like an A&W, but...
Cooler.
Yeah. Yes.
You get like a Londy burger, fries, and a root beer would be $6 or
And that was a big order.
Yeah.
Probably open from May 1st through October.
That could be. Well, I'm Cindy Hartke.
I'm Dave Hartke.
And we are the parents of Joe Hartke, who's making us do this.
Mom and Dad graduated from rival high schools.
I drove from Kewaunee to Luxembourg to pick her up, and then we'd have to come back to Kewaunee to eat,
That was a good place to go for some fast food.
No, we went to Jumbo's more after we were married.
Well, why are we talking about our dating when we're supposed to be talking about Jumbo's?
No one I talked to seems to remember when it opened.
Probably in the mid-'60s. Ask Adam Cole-Morgan, he would know.
Late 60s until around the turn of the century, right around 99 to 2000.
Yeah.
My name's Adam Cole-Morgan. I worked at Jumbo's Drive-In from 1992 to 1997.
I'm Sue Stangl-Savchek. Worked at Jumbo's from 1972 to 1980.
The original owners were Carl and Viola Lawrence.
Oh, they were great.
Oh, they were wonderful.
Yes.
They were so much fun.
Yes.
And Carl was an ag teacher at Manitowoc, Lincoln.
Eventually, their son Lynn would continue in the family's fry-making excellence.
Everyone called him Jumbo.
Yeah.
All the Kiwani kids came to Jumbo's, the city kids and the farm kids in my family.
We'd be having a long day of baling hay, unloading, stacking in the haymow.
Started baling maybe 10 in the morning, and sometimes be 8, 9 o'clock at night we quit.
Yeah. You were working all day. You had to eat something, and even Mom was too tired to cook. That was a big treat.
For me, Jumbo's represents a big, long, deep breath after a long day of baling hay. You are a townie, right?
Yeah, I grew up in the city. My name is Angela Niamanduro. Used to be Angela Shipper, Kiwani High School class of 1995.
Angie lives in Appleton, Wisconsin now, a Kiwani expat like me.
So a lot of times we would go play tennis down at Kiwi Park, and then we'd say, hey, let's go to Jumbo's. Most of the time on bikes.
Talk about boys?
Oh, I'm sure we talked about boys. That was always a conversation.
But you can't mention any of that here because
No,
there's a pinky swear.
What happens in Jumbo's stays in Jumbo's, you know?
So what'd you order?
I remember they had good root beer floats.
Yeah. I remember the root beer came in these really big gallon.
The jugs, yeah, like a milk jug, yeah.
Yeah, that was
It
a
was
good
pure
one.
sugar, and that's why it was so good.
Yeah. And the Kraut Round Dogs. I love those. Those were my favorite. Mrs. L used to make the tartar sauce.
Tartar sauce.
It was mayonnaise, sugar, mustard,
Relish.
pickle relish.
Yeah.
You mix it all together. And that's how I still make mine. It was more sweet than tart.
You would slit it or cut it partially, deep fry it, which would make it curl. You put it on a bun. You would
Yeah.
think a hot dog would be so good in a fryer, but it was.
I remember the cheeseburgers being good, and the fries, of course, the pound of fries.
Pound of fries.
A couple pounds of fries, yeah.
You know what I would try to describe them as is, you know, the funnel cakes?
Yes, I do. Okay.
Okay, funnel cakes, but no sugar.
Okay.
Crispy, brown, crunchy. That's how I would describe them.
There's a special recipe for those kinds of fries.
I hate to disappoint my mom, but there was no special recipe. That said, Jumbo's fries were made in an endearingly Kiwani-like way.
There may or may not have been potato in it, but this was a powder.
It was potato flakes, sort of
Yes,
like Pringles type thing.
Yes.
You know.
But to me, I describe it as pancake mix.
But it was
Yes.
thicker, and that
Yeah.
pressing it through would give that little bit of texture with that. Mr. L would have a 5-gallon pail. He'd put the powder in it, add water. I don't know how much. I'm assuming it was by a pitcher. And he had a drill with a whisk on the end, and he'd whip that up to whatever the
Yeah.
correct texture was.
Put it in the refrigerator to harden, and then you would take it out, put it in the press. You would push it through. Knives or blades would cut it to about 3 to 4 inches thick, the length of a fry, and you would fry it.
I remember Mrs. L coming in, you know, looking sort of...
Still call her Mrs. L?
Yeah, well, Mr. and Mrs. L, that's what it was. We were the girls.
Among the Jumbo's girls, Sue and her sister Patty. They would travel on their bikes from their country farm down Highway 42 to get to work.
They kept their eye on the labor laws, so you could only work so much sometimes. But I was there all day, my sister and I. But I made $1,000 a summer, which back then was huge. And we rode our bikes. If it was night, I think they'd drop us off and pick us up. But that was our main mode of transportation.
In 1974, there was an accident. Patty was hit by a car.
That day, it had been after I graduated from high school, and I wanted to stay at home and work on my tan or something. I don't know. And we argued, and I made her go in for me. So I still remember policeman driving in the yard and talking to my dad, and he just practically collapsed on the car, and then he told my mom, and she just was crushed.
Patty was only 17.
It was sad. It was sad. Something you carry with you all your life. It'll be 50 years this summer. It was an accident. That's what happens, you know? There's all kinds of what ifs, so I'm here, she's not. It could be the other way around, too. They still call me Patty. A lot of people still do.
Jumbo, the person that owned it and ran it when I was there, passed away about a year or two ago.
Yeah, and Mr. L died quite early, but Mrs. L died.
And then I think it sold 99 or 2000 and then ran into the early 2000s and then it closed.
I miss things about Kewanee. You know, I think I miss my kids not growing up in a small town.
Jumbo's seem to be like a trusted space.
Mm-hmm.
Because all the parents went there, too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Has our hometown shrunk to nothing? I don't see some of the stuff that we saw when we were kids.
Mm-hmm.
So is that on us, or is that, you know, because everybody says that.
Yeah.
Everybody says that.
I don't think that's on us.
You have to remember there was a lot more farm families back then compared to there is now.
Well, we think that traffic was different then, too.
Yeah.
That was before I-43, right?
Yeah.
The Milwaukee and Chicago traffic, they go to Green Bay and they can catch the 4-lane all the way, whereas that didn't exist years ago.
Business dried up when cars stopped going through. Kids leave, you know.
Yeah, the schools aren't growing.
No.
But one thing that I learned is that our memories, our perceptions, are a lot like our taste buds. They can trick us into thinking things are overly salty or sweet. And sometimes it just depends on how close you are to the flavor. Adam and Sue still live in town. They see it growing.
I think there are enough families. I just think the opportunity isn't there.
I miss it, but at the same time, I think there's a lot of good businesses here now.
Yeah.
Don't want to see the local dollar spread too thin.
Those are the two original booths from what I was told.
The weekend I visited Kewanee, news arrived that the old Jumbo's lot had sold. The new owner wants to turn it into an RV rental.
Yes.
This part was added on.
She showed Adam and Sue around the old building.
That was back in the 70s, so.
And a fancy new restaurant west of town had its grand opening. The owners are thinking of resurrecting some Jumbo's recipes. But will it ever become a local legend like the original?
Not with the fries. They won't have the fries.
Some things you just can't improve upon. Sorry, world.
That's Joe Hartke, our technical director and sound designer. Today, his home is just outside the big city of Madison, Wisconsin, but a piece of his heart will always belong to Kewanee. I mentioned earlier that box of old recipes I have from my great-grandmother, mostly Christmas recipes, fruitcake, eggnog, sticky sweet divinity. My great-grandmother was a minister's wife, so Christmas must have been an important season to her. But most religions have special foods that you only eat on certain days or at certain times of the year. Holy food. What happens when you mix faith into food? We'll talk about that next on To the Best of Our Knowledge from Wisconsin Public Radio and PRX.
Hey, it's Francis Lamb, host of The Splendid Table. This week, we've got interviews that will put a couple of great books on your summer reading list. We're talking about the poetry of food and the life of the legendary Judith Jones, who brought Julia Child back to America. That's coming up on The Splendid Table.
This afternoon at 2 on Public Radio 89.5.
Support for Public Radio Tulsa is provided by the founders of the Shining Honor Project, enriching the lives of those with developmental challenges while honoring our nation's veterans. Meet and learn about Honor Team members at shininghonor.org/stories.
From the University of Tulsa, this is Public Radio 89.5, KWGS HD1 Tulsa, made possible by your financial support.
We've been talking this hour about how food has the power to supercharge memories, take you right back to your roots. No wonder it's such an important part of so many religions. Christians, Jews, Muslims, Buddhists, Hindus, they all have food rules and traditions. Christina Ward is the author of Holy Food, How Cults, Communes, and Religious Movements Influenced What We Eat. And also she told Charles Monroe Kane what we don't eat.
What is treif? What is haram? What's acceptable? If you go back to the time period when a lot of those rules were made, they harken back to both food safety, so you're going to be a little healthier. It also becomes a way to identify who's in your club, who is in the tribe, who are your people. We all eat the same thing. We all don't eat the same thing. And that's why sharing meals, even in church settings, in religious settings, even as fundraisers, how many spaghetti dinners has everyone gone to in their lifetime?
Yeah.
These are acts of trust that help build community. And religion then has grown around that real basic idea.
You know, the skeptic in me, I agree with you. And then the skeptic in me wants to add control. Let's use food to control people. Let's use food to have power over them, right?
Yeah, and that comes a little bit later. This idea of once we identified who's our people, and we get to say, are you following our rules? Because if you're not following our rules, then you're not our people anymore. And by giving tangible actions like you eat this at this time on this day, or you can never eat this ever, you can only eat this at a certain time of year, all of those rules, if you're going to follow those food rules, that means you're probably going to follow all the other rules that go along with being in a religious movement.
It's so interesting. Well, let's get into some specific examples. And the one I was really interested in, I really found fascinating, because I didn't know the food connection here at all, was the Nation of Islam. I guess I was really surprised to read how much food was part of the founding of the Nation of Islam in America. And in particular, I was fascinated with Elijah Muhammad's book, How to Eat Live.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're coming from that place where he did, which is with a memory, a familial memory of enslavement with his parents and grandparents, food was highly restricted and you were totally dependent on someone else for the food. So he starts making the rules that reject the foods that are associated with slavery. They're not eating foods that are traditionally associated with Black, Southern foods, soul food, all of those things.
His stuff was healthy and very specific.
It is healthy, so much so that if someone was following the Nation of Islam diet today, they would be following almost the ideal recommended by the USDA and all the health organizations.
That's so interesting.
He was convinced at the time when he was writing, and this is like post-World War II, that American food culture, the processed food, was out to kill Black people. It was overly sugared. It was overly salted. And now we're standing back 50 to 75 years later, and not only is that highly processed food killing Black people, it's killing everyone.
Everybody. The rejection of meat particularly seems to be very high with these groups. Why? Well, why are so many cults and communes and other folks just rejecting meat?
It converges in two places based on two different types of scripture. So really back in the 1800s, where you start to see new religious movements reject meat, they're looking at the New Testament in what's called the Edenic Covenant. This notion that God has told man to care for the world. You are responsible for it. Some religions have interpreted that meaning you get to eat everything. Everything belongs to you. Do what you want with it. Other groups have interpreted that as being you are the custodian of the world and it's a huge responsibility and you must care for every living thing and you're not going to eat things that you care for. So it was interpreted that plants are the way to go. God's creatures are God's creatures.
Right.
Don't eat them. They're your friends, not your food. And that you see that as Seventh-day Adventists and some of the smaller break-off groups of that time. I'm thinking of the Transcendentalists didn't eat meat. There were people embracing these new ideas Then it crosses over by the later 1800s with the influence of Hinduism and Buddhism, where there are long monastic traditions of not eating meat at all.
Right.
Their scripture says that's the notion of not doing harm in the world, ahisma, no harm. And so, of course, to eat an animal, you have to harm it.
In the early 90s, for like 5-6 years, I lived in Prague, right after communism ended, a lot of limited resources. And when I moved there, I was a vegetarian. And there was just nowhere to eat. There was nothing to eat. What do you do? And then the Hare Krishnas came to town. Not far from my house was free food. Every day, vegan food presented in a yummy way, things I'd never had before. I grew up working class. And I was like, oh, if you don't eat, you die, right? We have to eat. And I realized how important food was when I started eating their food, and how much I appreciated these people and their religion for the year I ate their food every day.
You have to eat.
Everyone, as you know, we're going to continue with the life of the Wyoming Discovery Strategy. So, this is continued in on the last day. And walk toilets tonight.
Time to hit the road.
And, gonna be the gonna be public thing tonight. So here to get on the river and let me out of lunch.
Turn right. Finding a new route. Turn left. Keep left, and then turn left. Turn left. Turn right. Finally, we are here. Let's do this. Turn left. Get ready to turn right. Turn right. Keep right, and then turn right. Turn right.